Now I want to apologize in advance if I get too YouTube-y or googly on you. Now a lot of the things I'm going to say to you tonight may seem like it's a Saturday morning cartoon from the 1970s of this band, but everything I'm going to tell you is the truth, and they were hero-ish, they were cartoonish, so don't be surprised at what I say. At the time in the 1970s, Saturday morning cartoons were quite well known. One of them was Scooby-Doo, which has a lot of correlations with the Lifeguards' Wavy Ghost Town. They were a group of kids in California riding around in a van chasing ghosts. You'll see some of the graphic from the 70s, some of the graphic art that we have of the band. They look like cartoon cells. They do look, in fact, like Scooby-Doo. So you might find that interesting as well.
Yes, I am silent and strong, but I can sing a song when your spirit moves me. You ride the ocean wave, I feel your ocean spray, and your spirit moves me. Yes, I am silent and strong, but I can sing a song when your spirit moves me. You ride it on a wave, I feel your ocean spray, and your spirit moves me. dance along? Could you be so free and sing with me, singing, hey, how are ya? 'Cause I see you there in your beach swept hair. We're under the sun and we're all one, singing hallelujah. Everybody hallelujah, yeah. Hallelujah, yeah. Hallelujah, yeah. Hallelujah, yeah. Singing hallelujah to Jah. If I sing this song, would you dance along? Could you be so free and sing with me, singing hallelujah. We're singing hallelujah to Jah. Everybody hallelujah, yeah. Hallelujah, yeah. Hallelujah, yeah. Hallelujah, yeah. Ask them to dance. Just move a little closer. Let the ghosts lead you in. Put your head on their shoulder. Let the ghosts lead you in. I'm trying to tell you. Let the ghosts lead you in. I will make you dance.
I've been at the jam for about 2 hours. I just got here a little while.
What do you think about it?
I think it's fun, but it's a shame that there's such like a strong gathering of youth and they just do nothing but get drunk, where we should be together and do something about what's going on. And I think it's fitting that since we're on Nantucket, that a whale would wash ashore and awaken people's minds to the fall of nature and the world.
Good evening. How are you? Welcome to ACK TV. My name is Barrister Pike. Some of you may know me. I am an associate at the Nantucket Historical Association, as well as I am an associate professor of American history at Yale University. Tonight I am here, though, simply as a community television enthusiast and hobbyist. As you all know, we've been tracking down the trail of lost and found footage of the local legendary rock band, the Lifeguards of Wavy Ghost Town. Now, the kids here at ACK-TV, the interns from the high school, and some of the college students have had an amazing time getting to know this rock band. They've all said that they feel for the first time they've gotten to know a real rock band when it was all built on mystery and speculation. Before you see the footage, I want to point out a few things. They all wore masks. The masks were made from makeup. Now, this may seem unusual to some of the kids out there watching this now, but this was the early 1970s. There was a lot of rock bands, progressive rock bands as they were called, who did wear makeup. They sang in themes of songs, long extended songs, which told a story. Now, to point out and go back for reference, you can look up Peter Gabriel and Genesis. You can remember that Kiss at this time was just about to put their makeup on. You can look up the fact that later in the 70s, Bob Dylan famously wore makeup as well too. So historically, it does make sense. Now, their makeup and their mask had a few reasons. Now, first of all, they were all born in the late 40s, raised in the 50s. They all watched The Lone Ranger on television, as did their audience. So there's the mask right there. But their mask is cut out in a sperm whale around their eyes. Now, they said the reason for this was that they saw Nantucket history through the eye of the sperm whale. And lastly, and most importantly, the reason for the mask was this. Now, you all know this as okay. Okay is an American Indian term. Now, in medieval Europe, this was not okay. In fact, it meant 666, and you were hexing somebody when you did that. The band said, in fact, that they wore the mask because they were the opposite of evil, and that they saw evil and that they fought evil. Again, getting back to the Saturday morning cartoon. This is how the band saw themselves. This is how they related themselves to the audience. Lastly, you'll notice that all the men in the band wear Union cavalry hats. Now, this makes complete sense because all three of them have direct descendants whose names appear on the Civil War Memorial on Upper Main Street. Now that you've got to know the band a little better, I'm going to point out them individually. This here is Isabel Reyes. Isabel Reyes was the daughter of famed Nantucket artisan Jose Reyes. She spoke Latin. She played a Stradivarius violin, which is quite significant to our story because in the production notes of the filming of the band on September 18, 1970, it is listed that Silence refused to bring her Stradivarius. Now, musicians on Nantucket are laughing at that because you know what this island does to wood instruments. So it was very funny and telling to us that, of course, she would not bring her violin. So that's going to be pointed out a little bit later in one of the songs, something quite humorous. Silence was called Silence, but she in fact had a beautiful voice. While the band was performing, she often seemed to be in a trance, doing a traditional kind of guided wave around the band. She said that she was deflecting evil while they were performing. Those are her words. Next we have Harp. Harp was called Harp because of the harpoon that he always carried. His real name was Robert Hussey Kelly. He was considered a master musician since the time he was a child. He played piano, violin, drums, guitar, bass guitar. Quite talented. He was also considered one of the strongest men on Nantucket Island. Now, his harp is significant. You will notice that the band is never without the harp, and he carried it everywhere. It's also a part of their live shows. Now, the rumor and speculation was a few things. Number one was that the harp was called Franklin's rod. In other words, the rod on the harp was a rod used by Benjamin Franklin to conduct electricity. Now, how is this possible? that a 1970s rock and roller would have Franklin's rod. Well, I've seen the paperwork in the Freemasonic Hall right here on Main Street in Nantucket Island, and I can tell you that Benjamin Franklin is in fact a descendant of Nantucket through the Folger family. He in fact consecrated the Freemasonic Hall right there on Main Street, which sits there to this day. I've seen the paperwork bequeathing from the Masonic Hall the rod to HARP. So there is another historical connection and a piece of historical accuracy that can be looked up about the band. A lot of it is speculation and rumor. Now, why was this rod significant? It's because the band never plugged their instruments in. There were people who saw them perform live in front of 1,000 people and never saw the use of electricity. Quite interesting. Moving on to the next character, his name is Whale Rider. Whale Rider was a very interesting young man. His real name is Samuel Swain. He's the younger brother of Michael Folger Swain, who was the songwriter and the leader of the Lifeguards of Wavy Ghost Town. Now, Whale Rider was considered the best surfer on the island at the time and still considered the best surfer ever to surf on Nantucket Island. There was a lot said about this young man. He was considered a cad. He flirted with other men's girlfriends. He was quite charming. He was a great dancer, an outstanding performer, and he loved to fight. There's one story that I can tell you because it was witnessed by myself and two of my uncles. On the Strait Wharf one night, Whale Rider was confronted by two returning Vietnam veterans about his lack of service. And without delving into it too much, I can tell you that Whale Rider knocked both of them out, and it appeared to all of us that he in fact did not move one muscle. Moving on to his older brother, Michael Folger Swain. Now, I'm going to talk a lot about Michael Folger Swain tonight, or Busker, as he was called by everybody. Now, Busker was given the respect of a whale-ship captain. He was a young man at this time, 23, 24, when he wrote these songs. He had connections to the Freemasonic Hall, the Board of Selectmen, the Chamber of Commerce. This was a kid who seemed to hold power beyond his years. You will see this come out through his lyrics and his music. He was quite intellectual and quite capable of talking about what it was he did. Now, these are the Folger sisters. This is Sarah, who is the taller but the younger twin, and this is Abigail, who is the smaller but the eldest twin. Now, their names were Lady Grey, Sarah, and Abigail was called the Duppy Queen. Now, they were raised by a Jamaican nanny, a well-known Nantucket character by the name of Nanette Woolley, who was called Nanny Woolley. The Folger girls were the last girls that she raised. She died on August 9th, 1969, which you will see is a significant date in our story. Now, Duppy is a Jamaican slang word for ghost. So she called Abigail the Duppy Queen, and she called Sarah Lady Grey. Now, they were born as twins 7 minutes apart. Nanny Willie was famous for telling a story of how it was moonlit and beautiful when the Duppy Queen was born, but by the time Lady Grey emerged, it was quite stormy. So that was the difference between the two girls. Now, there's a lot to point out about them. You can see that one is always wearing black, one is always wearing white. They are shown in the footage a lot as the same person. They were known around Nantucket not only to be quite beautiful, but very, very powerful females. They were feminists ahead of their time. They were leaders of a rock and roll band. Even in the 70s was well ahead of its time. They spoke various languages, Latin especially, were quite capable of singing together in an a cappella style. They used to do things called sunset incantations, which I had witnessed them do, which is where they would say goodbye to the setting sun and they would greet the coming night. And I'm happy to tell you that we have footage of them doing a sunset incantation. You're going to notice here also a character who was referred to in the production notes as the Whirling Dervish. Now, she seems to be the seventh member of the band. Although she did not play an instrument, she seems to accompany the band in a dance like trance, just like silence. We don't know her real name. I've had a few people tell me that she was a well-known dancer and a early 70s fitness instructor on Nantucket. That's all we know. Now, the fact that their first gig was on August 9th, 1969 is quite significant, because that was the same night that the Manson family committed their first murders, where they killed, most famously, Sharon Tate. On Nantucket, the most famous victim was Abigail Folger, who was the cousin of the Folger girls, a descendant of the Folger Coffee family, who are, of course, descended from Nantucket Island. Now, the reason why this is significant is because before they played They Come For You on August 9th, 1969, Lady Grey walked up to their microphone and said, "My sister is alive. Abigail Folger is alive." Now, because of time difference, how is it possible that they knew what was going to occur with the Manson family? One other thing I want to point out is a connection. A few weeks after the arrest of the Manson family, they all carved X's on their forehead. Now, Charlie Manson himself said this was for protection. As you may notice, that is the symbol of the Lifeguards of Wavy Ghost Town. It has always been rumored here that they were the opposite of the Manson family and were aware of their presence. Again, going back to the Saturday morning cartoon 1970s hero do-gooders, but that's who they were. So we here at ACK-TV were in for a shock one Wednesday afternoon that we were not prepared for. We had sent out emails and had made phone calls to people who we had thought may have seen the band perform and were in fact friends with them, and we've gotten a variety of responses. I was sitting here one day on a beautiful Wednesday afternoon, and in walked a woman by the name of Lisa Sanford, who did in fact see the band perform many times and was very good friends with the Folger sisters. Now, she was interested in seeing the footage of They Come For You, which is a song that she always remembered and loved and hadn't heard in well over 30 years. As I said, we were not prepared for what was about to happen. Ladies and gentlemen, Lisa Sanford's youngest sister, Anna, died on August 9th, 1969. There goes that date again. She died in a motorcycle accident right here at Five Corners on Nantucket Island. Now, as I've told you before, the footage was all shot on September 18th, 1970. And when I started playing the footage for her, she broke out in a howl and a screech of pain and happiness, hard to describe. Because in the footage, on film, is her sister, a year after her death. What I've just told you is risking all of my academic standing. It is risking my position at Yale, but I will stand by it. You are about to see the first official, verified footage of a ghost in the history of New England.
can't tell you why. No, we can't tell you why. But your daydreams sing and spirits hear you. That's the last clue that we are giving you. Your daydreams sing, the night is calling. That's the last time that we are warning you. That in the night they come for you. And they comfort you. They come for you. And they comfort you. They comfort you.
Other rumors and speculation. Yes, in fact, it was thought, in fact, that they did communicate with spirits and ghosts. They spoke Latin to each other and amongst each other from the stage as well, too. They were all very well versed in the Bible and in most religions, although they considered themselves to be without religion. They always said that there is a level of spirituality that goes beyond religion, and that's where they existed. Now we're going to get to some controversy. The Duppy Queen and Busker performed at the Unitarian Church on a day which was a gathering of all religions on Nantucket Island, and they sang two songs by piano. The first one is called Hold You in the Light. Hold You in the Light is a Quaker expression meaning to hold you in the light, to keep you bright in their memory, to hold you in the light of love, in the light of God. The second song was called Quaker Sunday. Now, the reason why these songs became controversial is that people thought that they were making a comment on religion. You will see when you hear these songs, and we put the lyrics there for you to see, that they were not commenting at all on religion. Busker was quoted in the Inquirer and the Mirror as saying a few interesting things. He said, number one, he did not write the words to Quaker Sunday. The words to Quaker Sunday were given to him by a Quaker ghost. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, he said that in the Inquirer and the Mirror. Secondly, he said that The songs were about redemption from religion. He pointed out that the Quakers used their sense of religion, their sense of the Bible, their sense of God, to kill God's greatest creature, which was the sperm whale. So you'll see when the song is performed that it has nothing to do with religion. It has to do with how we treat each other as human beings. Now, Busker went on to say that not only did all the band members speak Latin, but they read Latin, and that they'd all read the Bible in Latin and English. He points out 2 chapters and verse, and they are both 1:28. The first one being Genesis, the second one being Romans 1:28. Now, he says that men lie about God and that men lie in the Bible. He says that, in fact, both of those chapter and verse are lies. You're going to notice in the footage that the Duppy Queen and Busker are both very upset. I think this is something that really bothered the band, that their lyrics were misinterpreted. So they did come in and put it on the public record. So here they are, live on ACK TV, 1970, doing their controversial thing. The Duppy Queen and Busker, lovers since 17. And the last thing I'll point out is that within 3 years, the Duppy Queen would be dead.
Wake up in the night, middle of a storm, and you lay awake until the dark, early morn. If you would only look north and turn a little to your right, you will see a lighthouse gleaming in your sight. Here on the island, we hold you in the night. Here on Love Island, we hold you in the night. When your day is dark, there can only be light. Here on Love Island, we hold you in the night. If I could have one more week someday, I would work for the day to give me Monday. If I had the faith to kill the fear, if I believed so strong that I could hear the song of the Spirit's voices. I would plant, I would seed, I would sow. One more chance just to grow. I would plant, I would seed, I would sow. I would lay down myself, and I would not kill away. And I would lay down my sail, and I would not kill the whale.
As I'm sure you may be aware, as it was reported in the Inquirer and Mirror, certain film and recordings of the legendary local rock band, the Lifeguards of Wavy Ghost Town, have been discovered here on Nantucket Island. Along those lines, I was recently contacted by a group of reporters asking me a series of questions regarding my knowledge of the Lifeguards of Wavy Ghost Town. Unbeknownst to you, what you are seeking is a riddle, so I will only answer you with riddle. All of the band members' nicknames put together are a riddle. All of their song lyrics are riddles. All of these riddles revealing a part of their story. To answer your questions directly would lead you down a cobblestone road that I am afraid you would not understand, and may lead you to places that you would not want to go. I know you believe you are strong and you are smart enough to solve these riddles, but I beg you to leave it be and leave it as legend. Furthermore, it has come to my attention that you plan on playing the song "Something is Touching Your Soul" on public television. "Something is Touching Your Soul" is not a normal rock and roll song. It was only performed live because it is a seance. It cannot be played in front of children, impressionable people, especially anyone who descends from any of the founding families of Nantucket Island. "Something is Touching Your Soul" was only performed live because it is a seance. That is my final riddle. These are my only answers. This is my only response.
tonight you let the moment take control. We hope tonight you let the music rock and roll. We hope tonight to thank you for coming to our little show. And in a way of praise, we'll tell you something we know. We know something is touching your soul. Come on, Nantucket, something is touching your soul. It's more than just the fun and the cobblestones and the history that you have been told. Take it from they who have the eyes, who can see, who can see. We hope tonight to rise the spirit of Abraham Corey. We hope tonight to rise the spirit of John Fitzgerald Kennedy. We hope tonight Mariah Mitchell's comet lights up our show. That's how we'll know that something is touching your soul. Come on and talk it, something is touching your soul. It's more than just the fog and the cobblestones and the history that you have been told. Take it from they who have the eyes to see, who can see, who have the eyes to see. They who from the eyes who can see, they who have the eyes to see, they who have the eyes to see. You can believe me. You can believe me. You can believe me. You can believe me. chose was cobblestone. The road I chose has no throne. The best I can do, baby, is move to Queens. The best I can do, maybe, is move to Queens. Where there's something about New York could never be a New England. And I know it's the same up in Boston. This was the real truce of the American Revolution. We would always love London, but in New York I had won. My independence. My independence. Now the road I chose was cobblestone. The road I chose has no throne. The best I can do, baby, is move to Queens. The best I can do, maybe, is move to Queens. Where there's something about New York could never be a New England. And I know it's the same up in Boston. This was the real truce of the American Revolution. We would always love London, but in New York I had won. My independence. My independence. My independence. My independence. My independence.